Steady oil prices are good news for oil sands companies, but don't expect a hiring spree anytime soon. A number of things, including the rising prominence of automation on the oil sands, has created a real possibility that many of the jobs lost to crashing crude prices may not be coming back. And for more, we're joined by our good friend from BNN, Jameson Berkow. Welcome back, my friend.
Always a pleasure to be here, Ben.
All right, so let's talk about this. Job prospects before the crash, how do they look now after we're through it?
As recently as 3 years ago, there was an expectation that, and I'm talking about just like the Fort McMurray area, so not, the massive beast that is the Canadian oil industry. Exactly. Like 100,000 jobs over the next decade. That was based on a survey from as recently as 2014. Not that long ago. Now, of course, since then, we've seen tens of thousands of jobs lost, also talking about those boots on the ground jobs. And while we may see some of those jobs come back, some would be the big asterisks I would put on that. You will not see that growth, those 100,000 new, those are supposed to be new jobs, Ben.
Not happening.
Not happening at all.
Okay.
I think the lucky scenario would be we get the jobs back that were lost over the last couple of years.
All right. So let's look at why. And technology is a big reason why.
Technology is going to be a major reason why, even before the bottom fell out of crude oil prices. Probably the most iconic image of the oil sands people have are those massive two-story trucks that are used. That's just in the mines, but, you need to be very skilled to drive those trucks. It's why some of those drivers make like 180 grand a year doing it. Skill shortage as well, but if you could drive those cars with a computer, you would save a lot of money, and cost savings is going to be the mantra of the oil sands from now until the end of time.
Sure. All right, let's talk about these two buzzwords that I learned in doing some research. Greenfield versus brownfield.
Yeah, one is actually going to be the big jobs creator. Greenfield means you're going to take an empty patch of dirt and turn it into a totally new project. So a new mine, a new,
a formerly green field.
Yes.
You're going to turn into a new mine.
And then the brownfield, I'm starting to see where these terms come from now, finally. There's actual logic in industry terms. First time I've ever seen that. Brownfield is when you actually take an existing facility and you just expand it. That's obviously much less expensive, but it's a lot less jobs. Yeah. Greenfield, you got to start from scratch. A lot of people need to be hired to get that done. Brownfield, way less.
Yeah, the numbers I was reading, over 9,000 hours to greenfield and just over 800 to brownfield. So that's a lot less manpower.
Absolutely.
Which keeps, obviously, costs down. All right, so aside from technology, what are some of the other factors that are contributing to this absence of new jobs?
It's probably just the huge cost of getting started. Like anywhere else in the world, if you're talking about expanding oil and gas, Ben, you're talking about maybe 100, 200 guys. You need a rig, you need to drill a hole in the ground, and then you just need to suck up the oil like a straw. With the oil sands, you need thousands of workers. You need billions, often tens of billions of dollars before you get barrel one pulled out of the ground. So it requires people to be absolutely sure they're going to get their price that they want. And for a mine in the oil sands, that's of course the big blight, but it's also where the jobs are. You would need like $100 oil. My
last question for you is about Fort McMurray itself, because these oil sands don't exist in a vacuum. They don't exist out in the ether. There's a town attached to them, and that town has suffered greatly.
Absolutely.
Is this town going to be able to pivot and come back from this and reinvent itself as something more than just boomtown Canada?
Absolutely, they will. I mean, it's just a question of how they're going to do it. I've had the pleasure of speaking with Melissa Blake. She's the local mayor several times over the last few years, especially when I was based in Calgary. And her whole issue is it's just a matter of city planning. They just need to know where roads should go versus where buildings should go, as opposed to the reverse. And when you have this spasmic, sometimes we're going to have 250,000 people in the city in 10 years, and now we're looking at maybe a fifth of that. How are you going to be able to manage your growth, and what's the industry going to be that we rely on? That's a question we can't answer today.
BNN's Jameson Berkow, thank you so much for your insights today.
My pleasure.